Ah, shuck it, duck it.
We got everybody.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How's it going on this wonderful Georgia football Saturday?
Good afternoon, y'all. Can you hear me?
We hear you well. Thank you
Great.
for joining us,
Yeah.
Dr. Eaves. Great to have you. Sometimes you don't know people watching you from the outskirts, but I used to watch you and your great leadership when you were chair of the Fulton County Commission. So it's a pleasure to be in your company.
Thank you.
And we're
Thank
glad to have Julius Hall here as well. Julius Hall, who's going to win the game today?
Well, Georgia gonna win, but they're playing Arkansas, so it's gonna be kind of tough because Arkansas kind of tough too.
Yeah, they're a good team. Good team. So, Julius, I'll follow your lead. Dr. East, Julius tells me that you have great information to share. And so I'm going to follow his lead because I know you all have talked before. But our guests today are from around Georgia, specifically in Chatham County. And we love to just kind of go into the educational part of, certain things. So, Julius, I'll follow your lead on this one.
Oh, you following my lead? Well, we
And
got
it's scary. I know it's very scary.
I got two doctors here, and
Man, look here. That's just a gift from God that gave us to do better in the world. That's it.
Oh yeah, definitely,
well,
definitely, definitely.
yeah, Dr.
We
Eves has
we
been
we all
on.
on the same playing field.
Yeah, Dr. Eves has
But now
been on
look,
with
now
us.
the light skinned brothers winning today though. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah, really, the light skinned brothers.
You might have to get Bernard Brown on this.
Dr. Ease has been on with us
Oh
before,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
a few months back, about 3 months back, and we're glad to have him again here to share his ideas. Dr. Eves, you can give an intro and tell everybody who you are, and give yourself 3-4 minutes and tell us what you're doing.
All right, listen, fellas. Thank you so much for having me on the show. As you pointed out, Julius, I've been with you before. Very matter of fact conversation. I don't mind being raw and candid with the listening audience. I think it's important to be real and authentic. And so thank you for the opportunity. Let me give you a quick disclaimer. I am literally on the road in Mitch McConnell's country. I'm in Kentucky, and I'm at a truck stop. So I may have to be a little quiet and discreet, right? But I'm still trying to be as real as possible. But on a serious note, I'm running for Secretary of State, which is an important position in the state of Georgia. Not only the state of Georgia, but the entire country. And it's about protecting the right to vote of all Georgians, but specifically the black vote, which is being besieged right now by a conservative Republican Party. These are not my words. These are the words of the Justice Department in terms of the lawsuit that was filed early this summer in terms of SB Senate Bill 202. And so I'm running to make voting accessible to everybody, but specifically to protect the vote of black voters. But the other part of my platform that I think is incredibly important, I'm going to talk about it at length in today's show, is the business development part of the Secretary of State's office. People don't really think about it, but the corporations division, to me, that's an area that can have the most impact on Georgians, specifically community of color. So, gentlemen, I look forward to conversation, answering any questions that the two of you have or your listening audience. But I look forward to the dialogue this afternoon.
And Dr. East, you touched on it, but it's always helpful to help viewers understand why does this matter to me? How does this impact me? So if you could give us a very broad overview, what is a Secretary of State, and specifically in Georgia, why is that role important? What do they do?
So it's a fair question because, frankly, I have to educate people a lot as they go out in the campaign trail. First of all, it is a constitutional officer. What that means is, as academic talk, but what it means is spelled out in the Georgia Constitution. It is an independently elected office by Georgians. It has four main responsibilities. It is the elections division, which oversees the elections of all um, elections in the state conducted by counties, all 159 counties. So you have an elections overseer responsibility, supervisor responsibility, managing the voter rolls, the 8 million plus Georgians who are registered to vote. So that's one component. The second component is the corporation division. All small business owners, corporations I'm a small business owner. I'm quite sure the two of you and others in the listening audience are. You pay your $100 fee every year to be a legal business entity in the state of Georgia to be recognized. And so you oversee the corporation of businesses, large and small. Then there's an administrative oversight of licensing boards. So there are 42 licensing boards. These are the medical profession, the construction industry, the notary, the publics. Um, these are all professionals that have to have licensing requirements to be able to practice in Savannah, in Chatham County, in Atlanta, in Macon, in Valdosta. So you have to be a licensed professional. So the Secretary of State office oversees all of these licensing boards. And then fourth, there's the securities area, the financial planners, the financial advisors that make sure people are compliant, are not taking people's money, being fraudulent. And so it's a big deal. It's a there are only three Black people serving as secretaries of state across the country. Of the three, only one of them has been elected. That's Jesse White in Illinois. And there has never been a Black person elected as Secretary of State of Georgia. So what I'm trying to do, gentlemen, is to be the first Black person to be elected as Secretary of State in Georgia, and probably in the entire Southeast. So it's a significant run. It's a significant breadth of responsibilities. And I want your listening audience to know that I am going to do justice to the job, make it accessible and work for everybody, but particularly communities of color that have gotten the short end of the stick in terms of what this office should do for all communities in Georgia, but especially Black and brown communities.
And Julius, if I could break this down, so for our viewers, if you know cosmetologists, small business owners who get an LLC and a license, or someone who needs like mortuary license to operate in the state of Georgia, if anybody needs a license to operate anything in Georgia, that's why it's important to watch this show and to understand why the Secretary of State's role is so important. In addition to that, you heard Dr. Eaves talk about the voting piece of it. And so, Julius, we know SB 22 and the voter suppression piece has been a problem. But if people don't get out and vote, those who have small businesses, those who operate salons and barbershops, your everyday life is impacted.
That's absolutely correct. And that's why we got the good doctor here. And we can't wait to bring him to Savannah, so in this whole region, so that he can give his platform to everybody. We need these new ideas. When we had Dr. Eaves on earlier, it was just a wealth of information and some great
Absolutely.
ideas on the
Yep.
changes he wanted to do. It looked like he's losing his broadband there too.
But what I'll do while we're waiting on that to come back, I'll share this press release. And Dr. Eaves, when you come back, just hop right back
Absolutely,
in.
fellas. I mean, we have an
Go
office.
ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you. Listen, this is an office that
You might have to kill your camera, but
can you hear me?
and just keep your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, we hear you well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
Can you hear us?
can you hear? Okay. I was just saying that this office has functioned in terms of the status quo. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, perfectly.
Yes, I can hear clearly.
Yeah, keep going. You're fine. You're fine. We got you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was just saying that the office has functioned in a status quo way. And now I'm bringing a new lens of how the office can function in terms of helping all people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine. Keep going.
It dropped out.
Okay. Well, we'll keep going, and you may have to text him and let him know that he might just want to join by audio. And what I'll do, Julius, is put up a few pieces. If you're going to interact with him, let me find. Here it is. This press release here, which is absolutely great. Let's see.
And you come back now. Hopefully that'll work.
Okay. There we go. I'm going to still share some
Can you hear me?
other pieces. Oh, yeah. Keep going.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, listen, I apologize.
No, take your time, but we got you.
Okay. So they messed up with my microphone here, yeah, the office has functioned in a very status quo way, and I'm bringing in a different set of lens in terms of how the office can really help communities of color that have not really fully benefited, particularly in the business development piece, as well as even just looking at the way that the licensing boards are functioning on behalf of now what's a very diverse constituency of professionals. So I'm going to come with a different set of eyes and new experiences, because I think the Georgia of 2021, 2022 has to be a whole lot more inclusive than it has functioned in the past.
Okay. And it was something else. Go ahead, Robert. I was trying to get this up here.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was going to share your press release, but one of the things that we have seen lately, and you mentioned it, is this idea of the state, I would say, leveraging tax incentives on small businesses, right? Are using that in licensure as a revenue builder, as it should be. However, are there ways that we can do that different, or the ideas that you have in that particular area that would be more friendly, or small business owner friendly, or salon owner friendly, that will allow people to have a win-win with the state taxing as well as running their small businesses?
Absolutely. So there are 1.1 million small businesses in Georgia. 1.1 million that employ 1.7 people. And every small business has to pay a $100 annual fee. So 1.1 million businesses times $100 is $101 million. Now, a lot of that money, most of that money goes to the state general fund. I think that's a missed opportunity. I think that money, some of that money should be reinvested back into communities, back into supporting the small business industry. Why not help and provide more aggressive outreach strategies, to have webinars to educate small business owners, particularly the ma and pa operations that are not legal entities, on the importance of being legal in the state of Georgia, how being legal can allow you to access small business loans or grants and opportunities from local and state government. So I'm a firm proponent that you should reinvest those dollars back into the communities in which the people are operating. So why not come up with a strategy to provide educational opportunities? Why not provide grants for new small business owners, a competitive grant process? It can be a $250, it can be a $500 grant, but will be designed to help them, have best business practices in terms of having an accounting function or about a bookkeeping function with their operation. So I believe that there are ways that you can reinvest the dollars that you collect on the registration fee side back into the hands of the small business owners through a competitive process to really help them to become legal entities, number one, but also help them to become a more solvent, strong entity so that they can be more sustainable than they are right now.
And if I could kind of go in a different direction, y'all. One of the things I was reading when I read your bio was the piece around helping to alleviate homelessness, and that was through very creative acts and very smart moves when you were county commissioner. One of the things I've
Yes.
seen working with nonprofits in Savannah, one specifically I'm working with now, to help develop homeless shelter and emergency home shelter, as well as rehabilitation programs for those who are recovering or whatever situation they may find themselves in to alleviate homelessness. But all the red tape that nonprofits have to go through just to access grants to do things like that. How can we alleviate that, and what would be your vision to change that narrative?
Great point. So, government can't do everything. Chatham County government can't do everything. City of Savannah government can't do everything. Um, um, you know, Wheeler County can't do everything. I think it's important to promote something called social entrepreneurship. In other words, can entrepreneurs, can small businesses be funded to achieve or address a social need in our community? Now, when I was chairman of Fulton County, we had something called a Fresh Grants program. We had a arts funding program, and we had a human services program. So Fulton County government actually allocated about $20 million to support the arts industry, to support human services providers, and to support nonprofits. Very progressive in terms of a government funding local providers. And what we did was we designated 3 departments to oversee that grant process. So the arts department, the human services department, and there was another department. The name escapes you right now. I think that state government can promote social entrepreneurship. So again, going back to the funds that are collected, the registration fees that are collected, I think we can carve out specialized programs that through a competitive process that's accessible, efficient, but also can be utilized to empower nonprofit organizations to address a social need. You can provide grant support not only on a local level, but a state level to address a social need. So I believe that something called social entrepreneurship is something that the state can embrace, the Secretary of State's office can embrace, and incentivize and provide support for local organizations to address the social needs such as homelessness.
Okay. I don't know what all that is popping up there. All kind of stuff. It seems like this thing is just going, either your computer is slow, Robert. That person,
you see how folks do you.
yeah, that was something from that agriculture commissioner.
Look, let me tell you how Julius does me, Dr. Eaves. He has a producer for every show. I got to do all my stuff. I got to sweep. I got to set it up. I got to fix my own food.
Producer on vacation today.
The producer even make meals for him. I got to make my own food.
Guys seem to be doing well on my end, so I'll have no complaint.
Well, I know that we have some events supposed to be set up real soon here. Probably in the next couple of weeks, or either right after the November elections here. And we, I believe that the chair of the CCDC, Jay Jones, is supposed to be, we're going to be setting up some events for the candidates to come down. And we look forward to having you to come down and talk to everybody. I'm sure that there'll be others also. So whoever has the best ideas, the best platform, I'm sure will prevail in this area. You have a wealth of experience and and some great ideas. I mean, I can't wait to hear everybody um, and and get you all before everybody in Chatham County. That should be pretty soon. I believe Jay Jones will be bringing you all out.
Well, listen, Julius, I look forward to coming down. I actually snuck down to Savannah, the Georgia Municipal Association. This is the association of the mayors and city council people around the state of Georgia. They hosted a conference in Savannah at the end of July. And so I used that as an opportunity to come down and meet a lot of the mayors and city council people from across Georgia. And so I was actually in Savannah. And guess what? When I was there, I went over to and got a tour of the Port of Savannah. And
Oh,
also went to your hometown. Is it Port Wentworth?
Port Wentworth.
Yeah. So I actually went to your town just to say I've been there before, but I got a tour of the Savannah port. Let me tell you what I saw. And if this is nothing new to you, but I got a tour and I learned about all of the major cargo ships that come in, and each cargo ship has 8,000 containers on it that has goods and products. And these ships come in, 6 of them a day, billions of dollars of revenue that comes in through the Port of Savannah. And then, as you know, these massive cranes take the containers off of the ship. They put them on trucks, and then the trucks and also the trains drop them off at distribution centers in Savannah, as well as along I-16 and I-95. And these distribution centers are all across the state of Georgia. And these products are brought into these distribution centers, and then they're taken to retail stores and grocery stores around the state. And then they ultimately end up in our kitchen and in our living room as products that we buy. But guess what? In that Savannah port, there is a picture of all of the board members of the Savannah port, 16 of them. Of the 16, 1 black person and 1 female. That is completely unacceptable in 2021. We have a state that is 32% black, 49% non-white, 50-something plus percent female, and to have 1 black person and 1 female on that board is unacceptable. Why is that a concern of mine? Well, that logistical chain of goods and products being taken off of those ships, put onto those trains, put onto those trucks, put into those warehouses across the state of Georgia. Hardly no black people own any of that stuff. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
No black people own these distribution points.
That's right.
Billions of dollars flow through the state of Georgia, and no black people are involved in it. We may drive the trucks. We may occasionally be the conductor of the train. We may work in the warehouses. We may be managers of the Publix and the Krogers, but we are not owners. We are not the manufacturers. We're not the producers. So as your Secretary of State, I'm going to call this out. It's not just the port industry. And believe me, the Brunswick port is probably even worse in terms of lack of diversity. But I'm going to call this stuff out. But it's not just the port industry. It is the Board of Regents that oversees the colleges and universities of the state, of the public colleges and universities of the state of Georgia. Roughly 20 people board members, only 2 black. The Secretary of State's office will, as Secretary of State, I'm going to start calling this stuff out. Yeah. This state, which is, again, 49% non-white, we are benefiting from the diversity of our population. 32% black, we are benefiting from the presence of black people in our state, but we are not producers. We are not manufacturers. We are not executives. 2021, 2022, that has got to change. We cannot be excited about jobs coming into our community, we should be excited about being owners of those jobs. We should be excited about being heads of corporations, executives. We can no longer be satisfied with being worker bees. We have got to have a mentality of being producers and manufacturers and creators. That's where the money is.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to call all this stuff out. I'm going to call it out. I see it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of Secretary of State that we need.
Unique. Georgia, very unique. We're one of the most diverse. Man, Julius, I see it, man. I'm telling you, we can't pass this up. And so I talk about voting, that's important, but the business side of the Secretary of State's office, that's the side that I'm going to talk about a lot. When I go
that's what we need, Dr. Bryant.
Albany and Valdosta and Waycross and Woodbine and Wheeler. Man, people say, okay, that's what puts more money, food on my table. So to me, that's what we have to go. And so Julius and Robert, man, I appreciate the platform. When I come to Savannah and talk to folks, I'm gonna talk the same way. I'm a product of the South. We made a lot of progress, but we still got a ways to go. And to me, the new frontier is the economic arena. We are, let me tell you, Georgia has more Black mayors, legislators, county commissioners, congressmen and women than any other state in the country. More sheriffs, more district attorneys, more tax commissioners than any other state of Georgia. We got the political clout is growing, but we got to get to the economic side. We have every right as anybody else to be at the table where the economic benefits are enjoyed. We have every right to be there. And we as Black people, we have just got to begin to think in terms of utilizing our political, our leadership to translate to inclusion in the economic arena, because we are underrepresented there.
That is absolutely correct, and that's what we've been saying on this platform for a while. It's not about that. Every time somebody Black brings up race, they think that we're racist. But what we want to do is be included, and you can't be scared to talk about race because it is relevant, and to have everybody on the same playing field or have that opportunity to be on that field is what people. That's a person for the people. And it sounds like your platform and the things that you want to do, the vision that you have is for the people. It's not about you. It's about the people. And that's what other people running for office got to realize. Stop talking about you, and make it about the people like you have.
Julius, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the thing about Black people is that we just want things to be fair, and we just want to be at the table. Most Black people don't talk about we want to take over the world. We just want to be included. We just want our fair share. But we have just historically been getting the short end of the stick, and it's become so normalized that we have accepted getting a third of what we should get. And whenever somebody says begins to talk in terms of we should get everything that we should deserve, we sometimes feel like we're seeing something wrong, and people get nervous. But we just asking for what white people and Asian people and anybody wants, but we just historically getting less, and it's become so normalized that we just accept it. And we have to think in terms of we should get just as much as everybody else. And everybody benefits from Black people. They benefit from our labor. They benefit from our creativity. They benefit from our zeal. They benefit everything from us as Black people. But Black people should benefit in terms of having more on our table than what we have right now. And I just think that we need to change our mindset, and just recognize that we bring so much to the Georgia economy. We bring so much to this country, but we should also get our commensurate share. And our commensurate share is what we put in, we should get back in return. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
else does it. Why can't we?
As far as voter participation,
So I have,
what, sir? Can you hear me?
go ahead.
Yeah, as far as voter participation,
Yes, I can.
the Secretary of State, I think, office should have a more active role in voter registration. I think they just sit back now, but I think that everybody should be. It's almost like having a driver's license. I think you should be required to vote. That's just me. It's a privilege, but I think you should be required to vote. Like they used to do in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think that the Secretary of State's office can certainly be the cheerleader for everybody to get registered to vote. And
Yeah.
as the biggest cheerleader, not only do I want everybody to be registered to vote, I want everybody to vote. And you can be. So I talked to Raffensperger back in January. He was proud of the fact that he worked with some voter registration groups, and he described it as on both sides. Um, and I applaud him for what he has done, but I think more can be done. Georgia has one of the highest percentages uh, of residents who are registered to vote than any other state of the country. So that's good. But that still means that about 15% of the population that's eligible to vote is not registered to vote. So that 15%, that includes a disproportionate number of Black people. And I'm a proponent, Robert and Julius, of going after the ex-offender. How can you get the ex-offender who has served his or her time, no longer is under any sort of supervision, is eligible to vote? How can you encourage them to see the benefit of voting? It can be a way of empowering them to get back into being reintegrated in society. So when I was chairman of Fulton County, I did the first ever public expungement or record restriction summit in the whole state of Georgia, where we brought law enforcement, the judicial system, the district attorney, all under one roof. And we encourage ex-offenders or people who have been arrested of a crime but never had any sort of disposition of the case to come to Ebenezer Baptist Church or the Temple in Atlanta. I hosted 3 of these, and we expunged the records of 1,000 people in Fulton County. And I think the Secretary of State office can be very active in terms of trying to encourage ex-offenders who are disproportionately Black men to get registered to vote, and get that's part of their reentry into our society and being productive citizens. So I think the Secretary of State's office can not only just encourage and be more aggressive about voter um, registration, but specifically targeting the ex-offender population, because I think that population is probably the least willing, for whatever variety of reasons, to vote and see the value of voting, because they've been so marginalized because of challenges that they face living in our society. But I think we can have a deliberate outreach to the ex-offender.
I'm glad you said that. One of the things I think about all the time is how archaic most of our laws are on a federal and a state level. One of the things I was thinking about in the idea that you talked about was, let's say you have someone who was an offender who was incarcerated. Wouldn't it be ideal to, number one, restore rights and rehabilitate to the idea of ownership of a business? So instead of the taxpayers now being burdened, you're now taking individuals who may want to be rehabilitated or want to be placed back in society in a way that makes them productive. So while incarcerated, developing a skill set that now allows them to have a small business, and instead of being a taxpayer thing, it's now they are contributing to the tax base. I think
Yes.
sometimes we want to rely on old laws to make things done. And Julius knows what I'm about to say next. We've got to move away from incarcerating nonviolent offenders and start finding a better way to make people who might do some things a little different or make a mistake, help them be contributors to society as opposed to placing another tax burden on our citizens.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. I mean, just think about it. When you come out of jail or prison, you already have strikes against you, stigma attached on you. It's difficult to get a job. Well, why not, with skills and support, create your own job? I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy. I think it's a close enough analogy for the audience to understand. So when an immigrant comes to the United States, let's say whether it's Haitians or Afghanis who come to the United States, probably their easiest thing to do once they get here, maybe not even realistic for them to get a job right away, but it might be realistic for them to create their own job through entrepreneurship. And using that as an analogy, the ex-offender coming out, presumably that person does have something that they're passionate about, have a skill. They may even be a barber. Well, heck, they can still create their own revenue stream by not only being licensed as a barber or a stylist, but have their own LLC or whatever designation it is as a small business owner, and that is their business. And so to me, it lifts the burden on society in terms of having to use traditional ways to support them. But they also, as you pointed out, Robert, is they add to the tax base. And so I think the utilization of small business ownership targeting towards the ex-offender population is smart. It's just smart all the way around. Everybody benefits from it because that individual generates his or her own revenue, also creates revenue streams through taxes for society, and then it also minimizes the possibility of them being dependent on social services that's funded by taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
So I have breaking news. I'm messing up. Hold on. Breaking news. George is winning 14-0. Hey, I got to do it. Go ahead, Julie.
They're 14, nothing already.
And just for a lighter subject, I am so glad we are getting a new coach. I love you, Chad Lunsford, but we couldn't keep losing like that. We're a winning team. Sorry, y'all. This is my Saturday. Every Saturday during the fall, I'm tied in.
You got 3 teams: Clemson, Georgia Southern, and Georgia.
That's it. And Savannah State. I love my Tigers.
Okay, we got 4.
Yeah.
But Dr. Eaves, it still comes back. Everything comes all the way full circle to voting. And, there's a saying that if you don't inspect what you expect, you're responsible for the outcome.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if you don't inspect, that's voting. What you expect somebody to do something for you, you're responsible for the outcome, and that's somebody not doing something for you. Yeah. And it's simple. We just got to get people to participate, be engaged and involved in their communities, be active voters, and challenge the status quo. These people, it isn't 16 people inside 20 people on that board and 1 black and 1 female for no reason. It's like that because that's the status quo, and it's been like that forever, and we're afraid to challenge it because the first time we say something about it, they call you racist. Why you want to bring up race? Well, look at the board. That's why I'm bringing it up.
I'm telling you, man, listen, this statement I made earlier about normalizing things is real. Just because something is a certain way and it's not right, but we keep seeing it all the time, it becomes normalized. And Julius, when you challenge it, no, this is not normal, it's not fair, then you're characterized as being a disruptor, as an agitator or whatever. We have to be really careful about how we have normalized prejudice or normalized getting the short end of what we get. It's become so normalized that when something that should be equal for us which is different, we feel like it's wrong. So just got to be careful about how we've been brainwashed in terms of normalizing something. But let me tell you a quick story. I'm gonna go off camera because I need to put some juice on my phone. Hold on a second.
That's fine.
You there?
Oh, we're still here. Yeah.
You there?
Oh, yeah. Keep going.
So I teach at Spelman. I teach at Spelman College. I teach a class called Civil Liberties in the U.S. Constitution, and I use the class to talk about wronged in society in terms of their civil rights and the civil liberties. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I brought in on Friday the aunt of Ahmaud Arbery, who
Mm.
shared with my class about how her nephew was shot by these three men, and how the first report that came in from the police department was that Ahmaud was shot in a struggle in the house with somebody and got shot in the house. That was the first report that came from the police department. And then ultimately the district attorney kind of covered up what had happened. And then somehow or another, a tape got released, and the rest is history in terms of um, all of a sudden people finding out what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. Well, the point I want to make is that she said, Ms. Thea Brooks, was that they decided to go out to vote out the district attorney, who was sort of the master of the cover up. And she really stressed to my students at Spelman the importance of voting. And so people have to understand that voting not only allows you to have the representative that reflects your interests, but if that person does not reflect your interests, you can vote that individual out, but you can't get rid of that person unless you vote. And so the
That's right.
point is, all the folks who want to sit on the sideline and complain and minimize their power and their value, but they complain, they lose sight of the tool that's in their hand to solve their problem, and that's voting. And so we have to change. We have to change the makeup. We have to make sure that the representatives truly reflects the diversity of our communities, and that's the only way I believe that you can get your fair share. And if that person who was elected doesn't represent, you have the ability to vote that person out. And so voting is important, and it's very fundamental. That's the power that people have in our country, in our state, that we just have to realize that we have.
And if I could add to that story, many of us will remember this part. And the reason we're sharing this, and I think it's important to talk about this, is because we don't realize that each and every position we cast a ballot upon impacts our daily lives, our daily budgets, our daily way of living, our life, for God's sakes. How many people remember this guy named Brian Kemp when he ran against Stacey Abrams? Let me show you how power works. Let me show you how you give people power with that vote. So the Republicans got out there and they put Brian Kemp in the Secretary of State seat, the same seat we're talking about now. When Brian Kemp ran against Stacey Abrams, he would have lost. But you know why he didn't lose? The voters put him there. And when he ran against Stacey, he was the referee, he was the game caller, and he was the contestant. So he couldn't lose because he knew how to cheat and win the game. If we don't get out there and show up in the polls and put the right people who are ethical, who share our values, who will advocate for us, and who will do the right thing in office with that one vote, we will continue to live in these cycles. Well, last year we saw people's lights get cut off and people put out of their homes because the Republicans and those who are in power and rich and all that want to get more. We got to take that one vote, that 1 hour, that 2 hours, however long it takes to get out there and vote. Because right now it matters. It matters to that elderly lady who might not be able to pay a light bill. It matters to that child who might not have a lunch tomorrow. It matters to you and I, who could easily be in those seats next year or tomorrow. So if you don't take the time to vote, don't complain and don't get upset when you see things not happening or your rights taken away. It's just that serious.
And Robert, just to add to that, I don't think that enough credit is given to Black leadership. I think that um, so on the one level, you know, sometimes a leader, regardless of his or her race, can be a bad leader, a bad local official, bad mayor, etc. But the upside of that is a lot of Black folks who are in office are really good leaders, and
Hmm.
we have to understand that Black leadership really has served the state well, served many cities well, whether it's Savannah or Macon or Atlanta. But I think the Atlanta story, in terms of Atlanta being the city that it is today, I think a lot of credit has to go to Maynard Jackson, the first
Yeah,
Black mayor.
yeah,
And you know, Atlanta's a truly an international city. It's a really a region now. But things he did back in the early '70s were very progressive and very bold, whether it was the airport or the affirmative action program. But the city has benefited from that.
yeah.
And that's because of good Black leadership.
Well,
And
and
Black,
with that, I would even add this. People don't realize this. Maynard definitely, but the one after him, Andrew. Andrew made the decision. People don't realize this. You probably know this, Dr. East. Andrew made the decision to create that airport as it is, and it expanded. And so you talk about not only just Black leadership, Black male leadership, and how that has developed an international infrastructure, like you said, for the city of Atlanta. Um, and as we fast forward to folks like yourself and Warnock, we've got to start taking a closer look at, not just siding with people because of race, but stop siding with people because of race and you just know them because your auntie used to do their hair. That ain't how you need to vote. Vote for people who show up. I've seen on the other side of that, I've seen leaders, um, also who didn't make plays get put back in the game. And I don't understand that. But that's another story. That's Julia's fault.
Well, and that's the thing, Dr. Eaves, that we do have great leadership because we put people in who look promising. And then we do have those that once they get a taste of the sugar, and we lost Dr. Eaves. I
Yeah, I think he
figure
had a bad connection.
he's in Kentucky and he has a bad connection. But
Yeah, Mitch
to finish
McConnell
what I
got
was saying,
pissed.
huh?
Mitch McConnell got a little pissed off about that.
Yeah, and cut his connection. Mitch McConnell watching. But we get those leaders that we put in office, and then next thing you know, they are doing only for self. And that's the problem with what I have with this. They are only doing for self. And they get blindsided by all the fame, all the pats on the back by the guys that got the jets and the planes and the helicopters that can carry them from here to here and take them to the ball games and everything. And they get to meet all these celebrities. And then they forget about the little people, the people that put them there, the base that put them there. And we have to hold these people accountable. That's one of the things that this uh, uh, platform is all about. This platform is about holding people accountable. It's not only about giving you the information, but it's about holding people accountable because somebody has to stand in the gap. And at ATR, we stand in the gap. We are going to give you the news, the information that you can use, not something that we're trying to just whitewash over you to make you think one way, our way. We want to give it to you, let you make your own decision. And that's what it's all about. You have to participate in the process to change the process. You
That's
can't
right.
sit on the sideline and be lazy because it rained, you didn't go vote, thinking that your vote didn't count. But if 1,000 of you did that, then that's 1,000 votes. That's
Well,
amazing.
70,000 did it at the last election, so
How many?
70,000 people didn't vote. That's piss poor performance.
Yeah, yeah,
If you did that in the football game, you've lost. You'd be like the Falcons.
yeah. That's crazy. You can't not participate and expect to change something.
Yeah.
You cannot
But
not participate.
And let me say this really quick. We put Dr. E's picture up in his website. We're being fair to all the candidates. We are not allowed to endorse, so don't take that as an endorsement because some of y'all messy, and we ain't gonna do that. Yeah, I said it. I said it.
We'll endorse after the primary.
Right. But in all fairness, we wanted to share the website because Dr. E's connection is bad. We're just being fair as much as we can be fair. So y'all ain't going to tell Jay Jones on us. But Ivan put up let's go back to Ivan's question, and I think that'll close us out. What is the consolidation prize when those who have our interests lose the election? You suffer.
Yeah, that is, there is no prize.
I'll give you a great example. You know, Daniel Blackman and I use Public Service Commission because that's what I know more about. You know, last year when COVID was bad and tearing up lives, your Public Service Commission of 5 Republicans, 5 white Republicans, and I'm not being racist, it is what it is. It's 5 white Republicans made the decision for low-income families. Now, I'm not saying they're not white or low-income white families. There are. But the majority of those people that were affected were brown and black folks who were getting their lights turned off in the middle of a pandemic when there was no income coming into their homes. We're getting evicted. And the sad part about it is Georgia Power has millions and millions of dollars, millions. They're not hurting for money. Georgia Power, last I looked, wasn't going to shut its doors. But to sit there and to shut people's lights off in the middle of a pandemic is heartless. But you know what happened? People did not get out to vote, and we had a chance to change the narrative on that and lower your light bill and to get that crappy project in Waynesboro out of the way called Plant Vogel. But now, because we didn't get 70,000 people just in our first congressional district did not vote. Now, if you're a Georgia Power customer, you're suffering even more because there's a $10 billion price tag attached to that same project. We've got to start taking every election serious, every election.
And what's so sad, Robert, is that the people that voted for the guy that ran against you, the people that voted for the guy that ran against Daniel Blackman, these are the guys that are there raising your utility bills. Yep. And you voted for him to raise your damn utility bill.
Yep.
What kind of sense does that make? How am I going to vote for somebody who's going to kick me out of my damn house? Don't make no sense. You know, people are not educated with their vote.
And not only that, let's talk about Buddy Carter. Yeah, I'm going for him. Buddy in the District 1, our current representative for District 1, Congressional District 1. If y'all don't understand these terms, go Google them and then teach the younger folks. Congressional District 1 is a collection of counties from Chatham, I think, over down to the coast, down to Florida. Let me tell you something about Buddy Carter. It's interesting to me that black males can be put incarcerated for drugs, but yet if you have a certain population, it's okay and it's not bad to give out opioids. But now it's an opioid crisis. We better start getting out to vote, folks. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's funny to me how some people can be a legal drug pusher, but it's illegal for certain populations.
Yeah, and you can do shady land deals also and get away with it.
Yeah.
Shady land deals that illegitimate, that are shady and on the wrong side of the law, and you still get away with it. You know, so privilege and position and power, we put those people in there. And like I said, if you don't inspect what you expect, you are responsible for the outcome.
Yeah.
You must inspect it by voting. Your vote is your inspection.
Well, and Ivan, you gonna quit this now? I gotta go take my dad to the grocery store. Nah, he said it's a strong case for political education. I think local universities do teach political science. Here's the problem, Ivan. I'll tell you the last time I really learned. Let me go back to 12th grade high school when you're learning this stuff. Most people won't step back into that space. And honestly, I didn't take learning seriously until after I did K-12. Yes, the local universities teach it, but we've got to start being like Native. Let me tell you something. I love Native indigenous culture. They pass learning down through storytelling. We've got to get back to that. Remember your grandma, your great grandma used to tell you stories. We've got to do the same thing. Not just talk about the story about the police going to pull you over and keep your hands up, but this is how you use power, and that's at the voting booth. You know, we don't talk enough about generational wealth, about the things that matter. But we all up in somebody fashion and labels and all that kind of carrying on. So let's move away from label education, being cute education, getting hair and nails education, to things that matter like financial literacy, voting education, exactly what Alvin said. Start doing more of that and storytelling. Because, you know,
Yeah.
I get tired of hearing some of the elders sometimes too, but when they talk about this stuff, the stuff that they went through, to know that John Lewis got his skull broken, and we don't think about that and take that seriously, is sad.
Yeah.
Got his skull broken.
Yeah. People died so you can be comfortable watching HBO. People died so you could be comfortable in your house in the air conditioning. You know,
That's right.
people died. You know, and you know, a conscious white person understands what we face.
Mm-hmm.
A compassionate white person understands. It's the ones that always, every time somebody want to bring up some equity, some fairness, that and when you talk about that in this country, it's black and white.
Yeah.
It's plain. It's black and white. Turn on your TV any day, every morning. It's about something about race, but you scared to talk about it here. You scared to in to inject yourself in anything racial here because people are looking at you and you scared as hell. You scared to exert your power when you have it because you don't want everybody around you looking at what you did for that black person.
Yeah.
No, if you have an opportunity, it is incumbent upon you to rectify things. Our ancestors died because for you to get in those positions. People have sweated and been beaten to death and hung and killed for you to get in that position. You didn't get there on your own.
That's right. Well, we're going to close out this week. Next week, I believe we have the candidates running for House District seat 165 to replace the late Mickey Stevens. But for those of you who want to learn more about Dr. John Eaves, who's running for Secretary of State, his website is johneavesforgeorgia.com. You can go learn about his information. If you feel like you want to contribute, make sure you make that contribution on his website. But next week, we'll have all four of the candidates running for House District 165. It won't be an argument, but we will present some questions and some feedback and allow them to question one another in a debate style format. I think that will work well, but we'll be friendly. We won't be like America After Dark.
No, other rabble.
All right, y'all. Well, Julius, tell them we'll take care. We'll see y'all back here next week. Same time, same place. Y'all have a great week.
Same bat channel. Good evening. Go watch the game.
Look here. I think the score is 21-0. Who's ready for a national championship? All right.
They
See y'all
acting
next week.
like it.